Hi, I'm Jack Dennis. For years, I've come to Canada to lecture about fly fishing in streams. When I come to Canada, I find out they know far more about lake fishing than I'll ever know. Over the years, I've had a chance to meet some wonderful Canadian lake fishermen and fly tyers. A few years back, a friend of mine by the name of Brian Chan, and many of you know that name, introduced me to a man sitting next to me here, Phil Rowley. I had a chance to view his flies at the Canadian Fly Fishing Show last year, and I invited him to tie some flies for us, and he said, wait a minute, you got to come up to Canada if you're going to tie some flies, and I'm going to show you how to fish them. So Phil, we're in your home country.
Well, thanks for inviting me along, Jack, and I hope to show you some of our techniques and some of the flies that are successful not only here in Canada, but all over the world. Okay, so again, into the vise I've placed the curved scud hook. Lots of different choices out there. I happen to use the Mustad C49S, like the straight eye hook on it. It hangs under a loop knot, it hangs nice and true. I've got the black 6/0 thread on here. And if you can, choose a thread style that you can unravel and lace flat wraps, because with Chironomid pupa patterns, we want to make sure we're tying as skinny a fly as we can. So I've got some hot orange uni wire here, not uni wire, ultra wire. And I just stab that into behind the white Stillwater Solution super white bead. That's a 7/64 bead. For my bead sizing, for 10s I use 7/64. For 12s, is it 5/32? Is that the next size down? 3/32. And then smaller than that, I use the 5/64, and now you can even get 1/8 inch beads. So I tie this fly, depending on where I am, northern latitudes, I've tied these as big as a number 6. We get some of the lakes, the mud bottom lakes up there, we get Chironomid pupa that are 5/8 of an inch long. We call them bombers, because when the adults fly by, they remind us of a B-52 that looks like the thing can barely get going. So, but probably a number 10 or a number 12 would be a good starting point, because you got to remember with these curved scud hooks, they're a 1 extra short hook, so you can get away with a bigger hook to imitate a smaller bug, if that makes sense. All right, and they also hold very well once they're planted in the fish's jaws. They're very hard for the fish to throw, and that curved look mimics the natural posture of the emerging pupa. So again, I put that on. Now I'm going to take some of again, this is the Midge Flex in the 1/8. It's a scud back-like material, the Stillwater Solutions line. You could use Rainy Stretch Flex as well. It's more color, and we're going to take advantage of the natural translucent nature of this material. So once I've got it tied in, you can see I'm really pulling on it as tight as I can to keep the bulk to a minimum. Get that in place. And then for the underbody, we're going to take advantage of the translucent nature of the material by putting different underbodies under here. And the color combinations are endless. For this one, I'm using red holographic mylar. You could use silver mylar, silver flashabou, you could use greens. You know, the color combinations are literally endless. And now what we're going to do is form a little red holographic underbody. You know, I use a similar body type for doing a Chironomid larva pattern of mine. It uses the maroon or the red, and it really gives it that sort of nice, deep, rich maroon, blood red color. So we just tie that off, one over the top. Get out my smaller scissors here. And I just trim off the excess and throw a couple extra wraps in there. Now we're going to take our body material, and we're just going to stop being so cheap. Get that started, and we're just going to get this to lay nice and flat, and then just pull on it as tight as we can without moving our vise all over the place. And just pass that over, and you can see the red kind of glows through it all the way up. And we're pulling on this quite tight. And then we're going to tie that off. A couple of wraps. top. Hold the lock and then just pull. Now whenever I'm tying with stretchy materials like this, I get in the habit of either throwing a half hitch or just a quick, I'm not going to remove the thread, but I'm just going to, a couple of turns of the whip finisher to lock that out. So if I bang the bobbin with my hand or anything like that, I'm not going to run the risk of having it pop off, the whole thing unravel. Because you tied in a length of material, this stuff stretches to about twice its length. So the actual length of material I used on that fly is probably about that much. So if it was to spring out, it would be a challenge to grab it and redo the body again. And now we're just going to take our ribbing material, and I like to put a couple of wraps right at the base to give it a distinct little red butt. So there's 3 wraps of wire right behind the body, and then I just open up the spirals and come forward. And I don't worry about anatomical accuracy, so I get into a rhythm with the ribbing and go with it. If trout can count body segments, I'm not getting that one anyway. I'm going to go for the dumb guys. And I just put that in, again, 1 wrap behind, a couple in front, and rather than cut it, which is hard on your scissors, I just put my thumbnail right on the joint and pulling and twisting, just break the wire away. And when the wire breaks, it tucks back neatly underneath the tying thread, and you can see that it's nothing there. It's all nicely protected and out of the way. And now what we're going to do is build up, and this is where the 6/0 comes in handy, because it lays wide. I'm going to spin the bobbin counterclockwise to take any twist out of it, and I'm going to build up a nice tapered thread thorax right behind the bead, just like this. When I'm happy with it, and I'm happy with that, it does just basically finishing off the fly, and then a couple of, you don't have to, 2 or 3 whips is fine, because I'm going to coat this entire body. And then we just get that in place, tie that off, and the tying portion of the fly is done. Now a lot of the materials we use, we take advantage of the crystal flashes, the flashaboos, things like that. They're not the most durable, so a couple of good chews and your fly comes apart. So what I do all the time is take a brushable glue, like a Crazy Glue or Loctite. You can get it at Walmart or Home Depot's in the super glue section. You want the brushable. And all we do is we're going to put this over the entire fly, and that totally fuses everything. And just let that sit and give it a couple of spins here, and just rotate that around. And that's sort of a standard go-to pupa, black and red. It's not really black and red, but you can see it's got a nice deep reddish brown dark glow, and really works quite well. So we'll just sort of set that aside, and then we'll pass these around. What if I got a little pair of pliers of them? Right, you got a pair of electrician's pliers handy, Jack?
I had some.
If not, I can just stick it on a piece of foam or something. We'll pass that around, everybody can sort of have a look at it.
Oh, you know what I've got here? This works really good. It's a rotary amplifier.
Oh, perfect.
Put it in that.
Pass that around.
I want to mention to everybody while he's doing that we will be doing a underwater world of Jack and Phil. I think there's been some new people come in, and we'll be